What if I told you that the very moment you're struggling to make ends meet, somewhere in your mind, you're actually blocking the wealth that's trying to reach you? Right now, as you're watching this, there's an invisible war happening inside your consciousness. On one side, there's the version of you that desperately wants financial freedom, prosperity, and abundance. On the other side, there's a quiet voice that whispers, "You don't deserve it. Money is hard to come by," or "People like us don't get rich." Has this ever happened to you? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. You work harder, save more, try different strategies, yet somehow money seems to slip through your fingers like water. Here's what most people don't realize about wealth manifestation. The problem isn't your job, your education, your background, or even the economy. The real culprit is something far more subtle, yet infinitely more powerful: your conditioned consciousness. Every single day, without even knowing it, you're programming your subconscious mind with beliefs about money that either attract abundance or repel it completely. Think about it for a moment. When you see wealthy people, what's your first thought? When you pay bills, what emotions surface? When someone talks about making significant money, do you feel excited or skeptical? These automatic responses aren't random. They're revealing the hidden programming that's been running your financial life from behind the scenes. The breakthrough that changed everything came to someone sweeping floors in a house that wasn't theirs, earning barely enough to survive. In that moment of complete humility, an inner voice whispered a truth so profound it shattered years of financial struggle. Money wasn't avoiding you. You weren't allowing it in. This wasn't just positive thinking or wishful dreaming. This was the recognition of a fundamental law of consciousness that governs how wealth flows into our lives. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. The secret to attracting money isn't about working harder, getting lucky, or having the right connections. It's about understanding that your subconscious mind, that powerful part of you that controls 95% of your daily behaviors, doesn't distinguish between what you imagine and what already exists in your physical reality. When you truly grasp this principle, everything changes. Your relationship with money transforms from one of struggle and scarcity to one of natural flow and abundance. But here's the crucial part that most manifestation teachings miss. It's not enough to just think wealthy thoughts. The real magic happens when you learn to feel wealthy, even before you see a single dollar in your bank account. The question that will revolutionize your financial life is this: what if I'm already rich, even though I can't see it yet? When you can answer that question not with your logical mind, but with every cell in your body, you'll understand why some people seem to attract money effortlessly, while others struggle despite their best efforts. But feeling wealthy when your bank account says otherwise, that's where the real work begins, and that's exactly what we're about to explore. This is just the beginning of what we explore here. If you want more insights on manifestation and consciousness, hit that subscribe button. I don't want you to miss what's coming next. Now, I want to go even deeper into this transformation, because there's a hidden truth about how your mind actually works that changes everything. Your subconscious mind, that powerful processor running behind the scenes of your consciousness, operates on one simple principle. It accepts everything you consistently feed it without question, without judgment, without argument. Think of your subconscious as the most obedient servant you could ever imagine. It never says, "No, that's not possible," or "You don't deserve that." It simply takes whatever you repeatedly think and feel and says, "Yes, master, I'll make this your reality." This is both incredibly empowering and potentially devastating, depending on what you've been programming it with. Every single thought you think is like planting a seed in the fertile ground of your heart. And just like a farmer who plants corn will harvest corn, not wheat. When you plant thoughts of financial struggle, you harvest experiences of scarcity. When you plant thoughts of fear about money, you harvest anxiety and limitation. But here's the revelation that can change your entire financial journey. When you plant thoughts of gratitude and certainty about abundance, you harvest miracles. The challenge most people face is that they've been unknowingly planting the wrong seeds for years, sometimes decades. They water their fears daily with worry, fertilize their doubts with negative conversations, and then wonder why their financial garden looks so barren. Meanwhile, their subconscious mind is working perfectly, delivering exactly what they've been consistently programming it to create. But understanding this intellectually is just the beginning. There's a massive difference between knowing something in your head and feeling it in your bones. You might have read about the law of attraction, heard about positive thinking, or studied manifestation techniques, yet nothing changed, right? That's because your mind isn't just a passive observer, it's an active magnet. Your thoughts aren't just random mental chatter floating around in your head. They're actual forces, invisible but incredibly real, that attract corresponding experiences into your life. This isn't mystical nonsense or wishful thinking. This is how consciousness interacts with reality. When you truly grasp this concept, not just intellectually, but emotionally, you'll start noticing patterns in your life that will absolutely astound you. The moments when you felt genuinely grateful, even for small things, didn't more good things seem to flow your way? The times when you were consumed with worry and fear, didn't more problems seem to pile up? This isn't coincidence. This is your mind operating as a sophisticated attraction mechanism, drawing into your experience whatever matches your dominant emotional frequency. The transformation happens when you stop treating your thoughts as meaningless background noise and start recognizing them as the creative force they truly are. Every thought is either building the life you want or reinforcing the life you're trying to escape. There's no neutral ground, no thoughts that don't matter. Your mind is always magnetizing, always attracting, always creating. This realization can be overwhelming at first because it means taking complete responsibility for your current financial situation. But it's also the most liberating truth you'll ever discover, because if your thoughts created your current reality, then changing your thoughts can create a completely different reality. The question isn't whether this works. The question is whether you're ready to wield this power consciously instead of unconsciously. Because once you understand that your mind is constantly broadcasting a signal that the universe is constantly responding to, everything about how you approach money, success, and abundance shifts dramatically. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to reprogram," if this resonates with you, because what we're about to explore next will show you exactly how to plant the right seeds in your subconscious garden. Now, here's where the real transformation begins to reveal itself. The moment you start shifting internally, something almost magical happens in your external world. People begin treating you differently. Opportunities that seemed invisible before suddenly appear. Everywhere, circumstances that felt stuck for years start moving. And here's the fascinating part. Nothing in the external world actually changed. They didn't suddenly become nicer people, better opportunities didn't fall from the sky, and circumstances didn't magically improve. The shift happened entirely within you, but the impact rippled outward like waves in a pond. When you light up from within, when you genuinely start feeling abundant and worthy, you're broadcasting a completely different energy signal. People unconsciously pick up on this transformation. They sense something different about your presence, your confidence, your way of being in the world. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with more conviction. You make decisions from a place of empowerment rather than desperation. This internal shift creates a domino effect that most people never connect to their mindset work. The barista who never smiled before suddenly becomes friendly. Job opportunities start appearing through casual conversations. People offer help without being asked. It's not that the world became more generous, it's that you became someone who naturally attracts generosity. But there's another layer to this revelation that goes even deeper into the mechanics of how abundance actually works. Money itself is energy, not metaphorically, but literally. It's a form of energy that flows through our lives, and like all energy, it responds to how we treat it. Most people have an adversarial relationship with money without even realizing it. Think about your internal dialogue when you pay bills. Do you curse under your breath? Do you feel resentment as you hand over your hard-earned cash? Do you grumble about prices, complain about expenses, or feel angry when money leaves your account? Every single one of these reactions is essentially pushing money away from you. You're treating money like an enemy, so it behaves like one. The breakthrough comes when you start treating money like a respected friend. When money arrives, you thank it. When you spend money, you bless it on its journey. Instead of cursing what you pay, you honor the exchange. Instead of resenting expenses, you appreciate what you're receiving in return. This isn't just positive thinking. This is energy management at the highest level. When you curse what you pay, you're sending a clear message to the universe that money leaving you is painful, unwelcome, and problematic. The universe, being the perfect reflection system it is, responds by making money leaving you more painful and more problematic. But when you honor money, when you treat it with respect and gratitude, something incredible happens. It comes back, and it brings friends. This shift in how you relate to money energy transforms your entire financial ecosystem. You start noticing that money flows more easily. Unexpected checks arrive. People pay you back debts you'd forgotten about. New income streams appear. Negotiations go in your favor. It's as if money itself recognizes that you've become a safe, welcoming place for it to land and multiply. The hidden truth behind all of this is that your relationship with money is really your relationship with yourself. When you treat money with disrespect, you're unconsciously declaring that you don't value what you've worked for. When you honor money, you're acknowledging your own worth and the value you bring to the world. This internal transformation affects everything. Your posture changes, your voice carries more authority, your decisions become clearer, your boundaries become stronger. And as all of these internal shifts accumulate, the external world has no choice but to respond accordingly. Write in the comments, I honor my money if you're ready to transform this relationship, because what comes next will show you exactly how this energy exchange works at an even deeper level. Now, let me reveal something that fundamentally changes how you approach abundance. The universe operates on a principle that most people completely misunderstand. When we talk about faith, we're not discussing religious doctrine or blind belief. We're talking about unwavering certainty, the kind of inner knowing that doesn't waver based on external circumstances. The universe functions like the most impartial mirror you could imagine. It doesn't judge whether your beliefs are good or bad, positive or negative, logical or illogical. It simply reflects back to you exactly what you consistently believe and feel about yourself and your circumstances. This cosmic mirror system is so precise, so accurate, that once you understand how it works, you'll start seeing your beliefs manifested everywhere in your life. When you believe deeply that money comes easily to you, the universe reflects that belief back through opportunities, connections, and circumstances that make money flow more easily. When you believe that you have to struggle for every dollar, the universe mirrors that belief by creating situations where money requires struggle. The mirror doesn't lie, doesn't play favorites, and doesn't make exceptions. It just reflects. This revelation can be both empowering and terrifying because it means you've been unconsciously programming your reality for years through your dominant beliefs. Every struggle you've experienced, every limitation you've encountered, every door that seemed closed, all of these were reflections of beliefs you held so deeply that you probably weren't even aware of them. Behind the scenes of your conscious mind, there's been a collection of inherited beliefs running your life like invisible puppet strings. These aren't even your original thoughts. They're hand-me-down limitations passed down through generations, absorbed from family dinner conversations, reinforced by societal messaging, and strengthened through repetition until they became your personal truth. Money doesn't grow on trees. How many times did you hear that growing up? Those born poor die poor, perhaps whispered by adults who had given up on their own dreams. Rich people are selfish, a convenient belief that keeps you safely away from wealth by making it morally questionable. Each of these phrases became a brick in a mental prison that you've been living in, often without realizing the walls were even there. The most insidious part of these inherited limitations is that they feel true. They feel like wisdom, like practical reality, like just the way things are. But here's the breakthrough that changes everything. These beliefs aren't facts about reality. They're simply thoughts that have been thought so many times they've calcified into seeming truths. A like on this video is more than support. It's you affirming your own transformation. Plus, it helps more people discover these powerful concepts. Every time you accepted one of these limiting beliefs, you added another bar to your financial cage. Every time you repeated these phrases, even unconsciously, you reinforced the walls of your self-imposed prison. The devastating part is that you've been both the prisoner and the guard, locking yourself away from abundance while holding the key the entire time. But recognizing these inherited patterns is where your real journey toward freedom begins. The moment you realize that these limiting beliefs aren't your truth, they're just borrowed thoughts from people who had their own limitations, everything shifts. You start seeing how these beliefs have been secretly sabotaging your success, whispering reasons why you can't have what you want, creating elaborate justifications for why abundance isn't meant for you. The transformation happens when you realize that if these beliefs were learned, they can be unlearned. If these mental walls were constructed, they can be demolished. The same mind that built this prison of limitation has the power to tear it down, brick by brick, belief by belief. Every limiting belief about money that you inherited is like a program running in the background of your consciousness, automatically creating results that match the programming. But you're not stuck with the default settings. You have the power to rewrite every single line of code. Write in the comments, "I'm breaking free," if you're ready to demolish these inherited limitations, because what we're about to explore will show you exactly how to reprogram these deep-seated patterns. Now, the moment you start dismantling these inherited limitations, you face the most liberating and terrifying realization of all. You are the author of your own story, not the co-author, not the editor, not the reviewer, the primary author. Every single chapter of your life, every plot twist, every challenge, every triumph has been written by your consciousness, either deliberately or by default. This shift from seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances to recognizing yourself as the creator of your experience is perhaps the most profound transformation any human being can undergo. For years, maybe decades, you've been waiting for the world to change first, waiting for the economy to improve, for your boss to recognize your worth, for the right opportunity to knock on your door, for someone else to give you permission to be abundant. But here's the breakthrough that changes everything. The world isn't going to change for you. You have to become the change you want to see in your life. The moment you stop looking outside for salvation and start looking within for creation, your entire reality begins to shift. You stop being at the mercy of external forces and start becoming the force that shapes your external world. This responsibility can feel overwhelming at first because it means acknowledging that everything you've experienced, the struggles, the limitations, the disappointments, were all responses to beliefs and feelings you were unconsciously broadcasting. But it's also the most empowering truth you'll ever encounter. Because if you created this reality, you can create a completely different one. There's a profound moment of awakening that reveals the true nature of your relationship with abundance. Imagine money appearing to you in a dream, not as the distant, elusive force you've always chased, but as a conscious entity with its own perspective. And in this revelation, money looks at you with compassion and says something that shatters everything you thought. You knew, I don't avoid you. You are the one who pushes me away. This isn't just metaphorical poetry. This is the hidden truth about how abundance actually works. Money, prosperity, and wealth aren't playing hard to get. They aren't reserved for special people or distributed based on worthiness. They're energy forms that naturally flow toward receptive consciousness, but they're consistently repelled by the very people who claim to want them most. Every time you've cursed your bills, resented wealthy people, or declared that money is evil, you've been unconsciously pushing abundance away from you. Every time you felt unworthy of wealth, guilty about wanting more, or convinced that good people shouldn't care about money, you've been energetically repelling the very thing you say you desire. The devastating irony is that while you've been desperately chasing money, money has been trying to reach you. But your negative beliefs about wealth, your inherited shame around abundance, and your unconscious feelings of unworthiness have been creating an invisible barrier that keeps prosperity at arm's length. This revelation transforms everything because it means money isn't your enemy. Your beliefs about money are your enemy. Abundance isn't scarce. Your receptivity to abundance is what's been scarce. Wealth isn't avoiding you. You've been unconsciously avoiding wealth by making it mean something negative about your character or worthiness. The journey toward true financial freedom begins the moment you realize that you've been unconsciously sabotaging your own abundance. Every complaint about money, every judgment about wealthy people, every feeling of unworthiness has been like putting up a no vacancy sign in front of your consciousness. But now that you understand this hidden dynamic, everything can change. Instead of chasing money like a desperate hunter pursuing elusive prey, you can become the kind of consciousness that money naturally seeks out and feels, safe residing within. Write in the comments, "Money wants to find me," if this perspective shift resonates with you, because what we're exploring next will show you exactly how to become magnetically attractive to the abundance that's been waiting for you all along. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation, because once you understand what I'm about to share, you'll never look at your mind the same way again. Your consciousness isn't just a tool for creating wealth, it is the wealth. It's not just the vehicle that takes you to abundance, it is the destination. Your mind contains both the mine, where treasure is found, and the treasure itself. This isn't just poetic language or spiritual metaphor. This is the fundamental truth about how reality actually works. Your mind is simultaneously the key that unlocks abundance and the door that opens to prosperity. It's the map that guides you to wealth and the territory where wealth exists. Everything you're seeking already lives within your consciousness, waiting for you to recognize it, claim it, and allow it to express itself in your physical experience. Most people spend their entire lives looking everywhere except the one place where their fortune actually resides. They search in jobs, in opportunities, in other people, in lucky breaks, in external circumstances. But behind the scenes, the real treasure vault has been sitting right between their ears this whole time, filled with infinite possibilities, unlimited potential, and every form of abundance they could ever desire. The transformation happens when you realize that you're not trying to get something from out there. You're allowing something that's already in here to express itself out there. You're not chasing wealth, you're releasing the wealth that's been stored in your consciousness all along. This shift from seeking to allowing, from pursuing to expressing, changes everything about how you approach money and success. But here's where the real mechanics of creation come into play. Every single thought you think, every emotion you feel, every mental image you hold is like planting a seed in the fertile ground of your unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind operates like the perfect farmer. It doesn't judge the seeds you plant, doesn't question whether they're good or bad, doesn't argue about whether they should grow or not. It simply takes whatever seeds you consistently plant and grows them into your reality. Think about this for a moment. When a farmer plants corn, he doesn't get surprised when corn grows. When he plants weeds, he doesn't wonder why he's not harvesting roses. The soil doesn't discriminate between valuable crops and worthless weeds. It grows whatever seeds are planted with equal dedication and precision. Your unconscious mind works exactly the same way. When you plant seeds of "I can't afford this," your unconscious mind grows experiences where you can't afford things. When you plant seeds of "money is hard to come by," your unconscious mind creates circumstances where money becomes difficult to obtain. When you plant seeds of "I'm not good with money," your unconscious mind manifests situations that confirm this belief. But here's the incredible part. When you start planting different seeds, when you begin thinking thoughts like "money flows to me easily," "I am naturally abundant," "wealth is my birthright," your unconscious mind gets to work growing these new realities with the same dedication it used to grow your limitations. The quality of your financial harvest depends entirely on the quality of the mental seeds you've been planting. If your life feels like a garden full of financial weeds, it's not because you're unlucky or cursed or not meant to have money. It's because you've been unconsciously planting weed seeds in your mental garden, and your unconscious mind has been faithfully growing exactly what you planted. This realization is both sobering and incredibly empowering. Sobering because it means taking full responsibility for every limitation you've experienced. Empowering because it means you have complete control over what grows in your financial garden going forward. Every day, from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep, you're planting seeds. The question isn't whether you're planting, the question is what kind of harvest you're preparing for yourself. Your unconscious mind is always listening, always ready to take your consistent thoughts and feelings and transform them into physical experiences. Write in the comments, "I choose my seeds carefully," if you're ready to become a conscious gardener of your own abundance, because what comes next will show you exactly how to plant the seeds that grow into wealth. Now, accepting this truth about how consciousness creates reality leads us to perhaps the most profound and challenging realization of this entire journey. The laws of consciousness are absolutely, unequivocally real. They operate with mathematical precision, scientific consistency, and complete impartiality. Once you truly understand how these laws work and learn to operate them consciously, you can achieve literally anything you desire in life. But this admission comes with a price that many people aren't willing to pay. It's the price of complete personal responsibility. When you accept that consciousness laws govern your reality, you can no longer blame external circumstances for your limitations. You can't point fingers at the economy, your upbringing, your lack of education, your bad luck, or anyone else's actions. The responsibility lands squarely on your shoulders, and that can feel overwhelming at first. This is why so many people resist this truth, even when they see evidence of it working in their lives. It's psychologically easier to believe that you're a victim of circumstances beyond your control than to accept that you've been unconsciously creating those circumstances through your own mental patterns. But this resistance keeps people trapped in limitation because you can't change what you refuse to take responsibility for. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to dive deeper into these transformative concepts, subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of conscious creators, and I'd love to have you join us. The moment you fully accept that the laws of consciousness are operating in your life with absolute precision, everything shifts. You stop looking for external solutions to internal patterns. You stop waiting for the world to change and start changing your inner world. You realize that every single experience you've had has been a perfect reflection of your dominant mental and emotional states. But here's what makes these laws even more powerful and undeniable. They operate whether you believe in them or not. Just like gravity doesn't care if you understand physics or accept the law of gravitational attraction, if you step off a building, you're going to fall. The laws of consciousness work the same way. They don't require your belief, your understanding, or your acceptance to function perfectly in your life. Right now, as you're listening to this, these laws are operating in your consciousness. They're taking your dominant thoughts, your consistent emotions, your repeated mental images, and they're weaving them into the fabric of your future experiences. This process never stops, never takes a break, never makes exceptions. It's as reliable and predictable as any law of physics. Think about the implications of this revelation. Every single day, through your thoughts and feelings, you're literally programming your future reality. When you worry about money, you're programming scarcity into your experience. When you feel abundant and grateful, you're programming abundance into your reality. When you think thoughts of limitation, you're setting up future experiences of limitation. When you think thoughts of possibility, you're creating space for miraculous opportunities. The fascinating part is that most people are completely unconscious of this process happening. They're creating their reality by default rather than by design. They're letting random thoughts, inherited beliefs, and unconscious emotional patterns run the most sophisticated creation system in the universe, their own consciousness. But the people who achieve extraordinary results, who seem to attract success effortlessly, who manifest abundance consistently, they're not lucky, they're not special, they don't have connections you don't have. They've simply learned to work with these consciousness laws deliberately instead of accidentally. Understanding this transforms your entire approach to creating wealth and success. Instead of trying to manipulate external circumstances, you focus on aligning your internal states with what you want to experience. Instead of working harder in the physical world, you work smarter. In the mental and emotional realms, where all physical results are first created, the law doesn't play favorites, doesn't make exceptions, doesn't have good days and bad days. It simply and consistently manifests whatever you plant in your consciousness through your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. This is both the most challenging and the most liberating truth you'll ever encounter. Write in the comments, "The law is working perfectly," if you're ready to accept complete responsibility for your reality, because what we're about to explore will show you exactly how to work with these laws intentionally rather than accidentally. Now, once you understand that these consciousness laws are operating with absolute precision, you begin to see reality from a completely different perspective. Every single thing that's visible in your life right now, your bank account balance, your living situation, your relationships, your opportunities, your challenges, all of these are effects, and every effect, without exception, has an invisible cause that created it. This revelation transforms how you approach problems and limitations. Instead of trying to fix the effect, you start looking for the invisible cause. When you see empty pockets, instead of just worrying about money, you ask yourself, what invisible thought or emotion created this visible effect? When you encounter financial obstacles, instead of just fighting the circumstances, you investigate what mental pattern has been running behind the scenes to create this experience. This detective work into your own consciousness is where real transformation begins, because once you identify the invisible cause, the recurring thought, the persistent emotion, the hidden belief, you can change it. And when you change the invisible cause, the visible effect has no choice but to change as well. Most people spend their entire lives trying to rearrange the effects while leaving the causes untouched. They work harder to make more money without changing their relationship with abundance. They search for new opportunities without transforming their sense of self-worth. They try different strategies without addressing the fundamental beliefs that created their limitations in the first place. But when you understand that everything visible is just the tip of the iceberg and the real power lies in the invisible realm of consciousness, you start working at the level of cause rather than effect. You realize that changing Your external world starts with changing your internal world. This brings us to perhaps the most crucial understanding in all of manifestation work. Ideas don't reach your subconscious mind through logic, reasoning, or repetition alone. They reach your subconscious through the medium of feeling. This is why people can repeat affirmations for years without seeing results, why they can think positive thoughts all day without creating positive changes. The subconscious mind doesn't speak the language of words. It speaks the language of emotion. It doesn't respond to what you think about your desires. It responds to how you feel about them. If you think about wealth but feel unworthy, guess which message gets through? If you affirm abundance but feel anxious about money, which emotion is impressing your subconscious? This is why sensation precedes manifestation and forms its very foundation. You must feel your desires as already fulfilled, not just think about them as future possibilities. You must embody the emotional state of having what you want before you physically possess it. This isn't just wishful thinking. This is how the mechanism of creation actually operates. When you can close your eyes and feel genuinely grateful for the wealth you don't yet see, when you can experience authentic relief about financial security you haven't yet achieved, when you can embody the calm confidence of someone whose money concerns are completely resolved, that's when you're speaking the language your subconscious understands. The transformation happens in your body, not just in your mind. Wealth isn't just an intellectual concept, it's a felt experience. Abundance isn't just an idea, it's an emotional state. Security isn't just a thought, it's a somatic sensation that you can learn to access regardless of your current circumstances. This is why some people can manifest extraordinary results seemingly overnight, while others struggle for years with the same techniques. The successful ones have learned to feel their way into their desires, while the struggling ones are still trying to think their way there. Your subconscious mind is constantly scanning your emotional state, looking for instructions about what kind of reality to create. When you consistently feel abundant, it creates abundant experiences. When you consistently feel limited, it creates limiting experiences. The feeling is the instruction, and your subconscious mind is the most obedient student you could ever imagine. Write in the comments, "I feel it before I see it," if you're ready to master this emotional dimension of manifestation, because what we're exploring next will show you exactly how to cultivate the feeling states that naturally attract wealth. Now, understanding how feeling impresses your subconscious leads us to one of the most elegant and powerful dynamics in all of consciousness work. Your mind operates as a perfect partnership between two distinct but complementary aspects. Your conscious mind functions like the masculine principle. It's the generator, the initiator, the part that creates ideas and makes decisions. Your subconscious mind operates like the feminine principle. It's the receiver, the nurturer, the part that takes whatever the conscious mind gives it and brings it to life. This partnership is constantly at work behind the scenes of your experience. Your conscious mind generates thoughts, ideas, and mental images about wealth, success, and abundance. It then impresses these ideas upon your subconscious mind through the medium of emotion and repetition. Your subconscious mind, being perfectly receptive, accepts these impressions without question and begins the process of giving them form in your physical reality. The beauty of this system is that it never stops working. Every moment of every day, your conscious mind is generating ideas, and your subconscious mind is receiving them and preparing to manifest them. The challenge is that most people are unconscious of this process, so they're accidentally impressing their subconscious with thoughts and feelings they don't actually want to experience. But here's where this understanding becomes absolutely crucial for your financial transformation. The relationship between these two aspects of your mind reveals why so many people struggle to create lasting change in their wealth, despite their best intentions and sincere efforts. Here's the revelation that changes everything. What you feel you are right now will always dominate what you want to become in the future. Your current identity feeling, the deep, consistent sense of who you are and what you're capable of, is infinitely more powerful than your aspirational desires or your future goals. This is why people can want wealth desperately, work toward it diligently, and still remain stuck in limitation. They're trying to become prosperous while feeling poor. They're working toward abundance. While identifying as someone who struggles with money, they're hoping to achieve financial freedom while maintaining the emotional identity of someone who's always broke. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to what you want to become. It responds to what you feel you are. If you feel like someone who struggles with money, that's the reality it will create, regardless of how much you want to be wealthy. If you feel like someone for whom money is always tight, that's the experience it will manifest, no matter how hard you work to change your circumstances. This is perhaps the most important distinction in all of manifestation work. You must shift from hoping to become prosperous in the future to feeling already prosperous in the present. You must move from wanting to be abundant someday to identifying as abundant right now. You must stop working toward financial freedom and start embodying the consciousness of someone who already has it. This shift in identity feeling isn't just positive thinking or pretending. It's a fundamental reorientation of your relationship with yourself and your capabilities. When you truly feel like someone who naturally attracts money, your subconscious mind begins creating experiences that match this identity. When you genuinely feel like someone for whom wealth flows easily, your reality starts reflecting this inner knowing. If something here shifted your perspective, show me with a like. It's your way of saying, "This makes sense to me," and helps this message reach others who need it. The transformation happens when you realize that your present feeling state is literally creating your future reality. Every moment you spend feeling limited, worried, or inadequate is programming limitation, worry, and inadequacy into your upcoming experiences. Every moment you spend feeling abundant, confident, and worthy is programming abundance, confidence, and worthiness into your future. This isn't about denying your current circumstances or pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing that your circumstances are always reflecting your past feeling states, while your current feeling states are always creating your future circumstances. You have the power to break this cycle by consciously choosing how you feel about yourself and your relationship with abundance right now. Write in the comments, "I already am," if you're ready to shift from becoming to being, because what we're exploring next will show you the exact process for embodying this abundant identity at the deepest level. Now, embracing this abundant identity requires you to completely reverse one of the most deeply ingrained patterns of human thinking. From childhood, you've been conditioned to operate from the principle of seeing is believing. You've been taught to wait for evidence before accepting something as true, to demand proof before investing your faith, to see results before believing in possibilities. But this approach keeps you trapped in a perpetual cycle of limitation, because you're always waiting for your external circumstances to change before you allow yourself to feel differently internally. You're essentially telling the universe, "Show me the money first, then I'll believe I can be wealthy." But the universe operates on the exact opposite principle. It says, "Believe you're wealthy first, then I'll show you the money." Think about how a seed operates in nature. The tiny acorn doesn't wait to see the mighty oak tree before knowing it will become one. It doesn't demand evidence of branches and leaves before trusting its inherent potential. The seed contains within itself the complete blueprint of what it will become, and it begins the transformation process based on this inner knowing, not on external proof. This is the fundamental shift that transforms your entire relationship with manifestation. You must learn to believe first and see second. You must develop the capacity to trust your desired outcomes. Before witnessing physical evidence, You must cultivate faith in your financial transformation before your bank account reflects it. This reversal isn't just philosophical, it's practical and necessary. When you wait to see before believing, you're operating from the level of effect, trying to change results without changing causes. But when you believe before seeing, you're working at the level of cause, programming new realities into your consciousness that must eventually manifest as physical effects. The journey toward mastering this reversed approach leads you to perhaps the most important skill you'll ever develop. Gaining control over your subconscious mind happens through disciplined management of your ideas and feelings. This isn't casual work or something you do when you remember. This becomes the most important work you do, moment by moment, day by day. Your mental diet becomes as crucial as your physical diet. Just as you wouldn't consciously consume poison that would harm your body, you can no longer afford to unconsciously consume toxic thoughts that poison your financial future. Every idea you entertain, every emotion you indulge, every mental image you hold is either nourishing your abundance or feeding your limitations. This requires a level of vigilance that might feel overwhelming at first, but becomes natural with practice. You begin treating your consciousness like the sacred space it truly is. You become selective about what thoughts you allow to take root, what emotions you permit to flourish, what beliefs you give permission to influence your reality. Behind the scenes of your daily experience, you're constantly making choices about your internal states. When you see someone else's success, do you feel inspired or envious? When you pay bills, do you feel grateful for the services received or resentful about money leaving? When you think about your financial future, do you feel excited about possibilities or anxious about problems? Each of these moments is an opportunity to consciously direct your consciousness toward abundance or accidentally drift toward limitation. The people who achieve extraordinary financial results aren't lucky. They've simply become masterful at managing their internal states regardless of external circumstances. This management isn't about suppressing negative emotions or pretending everything is perfect. It's about becoming conscious of the relationship between your internal states and your external results, then making deliberate choices about how you want to feel and what you want to focus on. The transformation happens when you realize that your thoughts and feelings aren't random occurrences that happen to you. They're creative forces that you can learn to direct. Your mind isn't just a passive observer of reality. It's an active participant in creating reality. Every time you choose a thought of abundance over a thought of scarcity, you're exercising this control. Every time you shift from feeling worried to feeling grateful, you're directing your creative power. Every time you move from focusing on problems to focusing on possibilities, you're programming your subconscious for success. Write in the comments, "I control my inner world," if you're ready to take full responsibility for managing your consciousness as the creative force it truly is. Because what comes next will reveal the specific techniques for maintaining these empowering states consistently. Now, as you develop this mastery over your inner world, you encounter one of the most transformative shifts in how you understand money itself. Most people relate to money as physical objects, bills, coins, numbers in bank accounts, tangible things they can touch and count. But this surface-level understanding keeps them trapped in a very limited relationship with abundance. The breakthrough comes when you begin to recognize money as pure energy, not metaphorically, but literally. Money is a form of energy that flows through your life, and like all energy, it responds to how you vibrate, how you feel, how you resonate with it. The physical manifestations, the cash, the deposits, the material possessions, these are just the end result of an energetic relationship that begins in your consciousness. This understanding changes everything about how you approach wealth creation. Instead of trying to grab money from the outside world, you learn to feel money's energy before possessing it. Physically, You develop an energetic relationship with abundance that precedes and creates the material relationship. You start vibrating at the frequency of wealth before wealth appears in your bank account. When you can close your eyes and genuinely feel the energy of money flowing to you, when you can sense abundance as a living force that wants to express itself through your life, when you can tap into the feeling of financial security and prosperity as an energetic reality, that's when the physical manifestations begin to appear. The energy always comes first, then the matter follows. But developing this energetic relationship with money often requires healing some of the deepest wounds in your consciousness. Because for most people, their relationship with money was damaged very early in life, sometimes before they even understood what money was. Think back to your earliest memories involving money. Perhaps you were 6 years old, walking through a store with sweaty coins in your palm, discovering that what you had wasn't enough for what you wanted. Maybe you stood in front of toy displays, touching things with your eyes that your family couldn't afford, learning that desire and disappointment often went hand in hand. These seemingly innocent childhood moments created profound impressions about money being scarce, limited, or unattainable. These early experiences weren't just memories, they were formative beliefs that got embedded in your subconscious mind when it was most impressionable. That 6-year-old who felt shame about not having enough money is still living inside your consciousness, still influencing your financial decisions, still whispering that there's never enough. The child who learned that money doesn't grow on trees absorbed this as absolute truth. The young person who watched their parents argue about bills developed the unconscious belief that money causes stress and conflict. The teenager who was told that "we can't afford that" internalized the identity of someone for whom things are perpetually out of reach. These childhood impressions created what we might call money trauma, deep emotional wounds around abundance that continue to sabotage your adult financial success. Even when you consciously want wealth, these unconscious childhood patterns keep pulling you back toward limitation and scarcity. The healing journey requires you to recognize that the beliefs you formed about money as a child were based on limited perspectives and circumstances that no longer apply to your adult life. You're no longer that powerless child, dependent on others for money. You're no longer trapped in the financial limitations of your family of origin. You're no longer bound by the scarcity consciousness you absorbed before you understood you had choices. But healing these patterns isn't just an intellectual process, it's an emotional one. You must revisit those early experiences with compassion for the child who formed those beliefs, understanding that they were doing the best they could with the information they had. You must consciously choose new beliefs about money that serve your adult vision rather than your childhood wounds. This healing process involves developing a completely new energetic relationship with abundance. Instead of approaching money from fear, scarcity, or unworthiness, you learn to approach it from love, appreciation, and recognition of your inherent value. You begin treating money as a friend rather than an enemy, as an ally rather than a threat. Write in the comments, "I heal my money story," if you're ready to transform these deep-seated patterns and develop a healthy, empowering relationship with abundance, because what we're exploring next will show you exactly how energy and emotion create the magnetic field that draws wealth into your life. Now, as you begin this healing journey and develop a healthier, energetic relationship with abundance, you discover something that completely transforms how you approach wealth creation. Every desire you've ever had for money, for financial security, for abundance, these aren't just random wants or greedy wishes. They're actually forms of prayer, direct communications between your soul and the universe about what you're ready to experience and express. This revelation shifts everything, because it means you're not chasing money like a hunter pursuing elusive prey. You're not begging the universe for something it doesn't. want to give you. You're not trying to convince some external force to bestow wealth upon you. Instead, your desire for abundance is the universe's way of communicating through you about what's already available, what's already yours, what's already seeking expression through your life. When you feel that pull toward financial freedom, when you experience that longing for prosperity, when you sense that deeper knowing that you're meant for more, that's not desperation or greed. That's your soul, recognizing its inherent connection to unlimited abundance. That's the universe calling you toward a reality that already exists in potential, waiting for you to align with it. This understanding transforms money from something you chase into something you allow. Instead of running after wealth with desperate energy, you create space for it to flow naturally into your experience. Instead of trying to force abundance through willpower and struggle, you develop the inner worthiness and receptivity that naturally attracts prosperity. The shift happens when you stop asking, "How can I get money?" and start asking, "How can I become someone who money flows to easily?" The first question comes from scarcity and desperation. The second comes from understanding your true nature as a being designed for abundance. But understanding this intellectually is just the beginning. The real transformation happens when you learn to practice the art of feeling abundance before it physically manifests. This isn't just visualization or positive thinking. This is about creating complete sensory experiences in your consciousness that are so real, so vivid, so emotionally compelling that your subconscious mind accepts them as current reality. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine holding money in your hands, not just seeing it but feeling the weight of the bills, the texture of the paper, the slight roughness against your fingertips. Hear the subtle sound they make as you count them, that soft, rustling whisper of abundance. Feel the satisfaction in your chest, the sense of security in your body, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you have enough and more than enough. This practice goes far beyond mental imagery. You're creating neural pathways in your brain, emotional pathways in your heart, and energetic pathways in your consciousness that make abundance feel familiar, natural, and inevitable. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. It responds to both with equal intensity. When you can genuinely feel wealthy before you see wealth, when you can authentically experience financial security before it shows up in your bank account, when you can embody the calm confidence of someone whose money concerns are completely resolved, you're speaking directly to the creative forces of the universe in the language they understand. This sensory practice becomes a bridge between your current reality and your desired reality. Every time you engage in this feeling exercise, you're literally training your nervous system to be comfortable with abundance. You're programming your subconscious mind to expect prosperity. You're aligning your energetic frequency with the vibration of wealth. The people who manifest money quickly and consistently aren't necessarily smarter, more deserving, or more fortunate than others. They've simply mastered the art of feeling their desires as fulfilled before seeing physical evidence. They've learned to live in the emotional reality of their goals while working patiently toward their physical manifestation. This practice requires dedication and consistency because your old patterns will resist. Your logical mind will protest that you're pretending or lying to yourself. Your fear-based programming will insist that you need to see results before feeling successful. But when you persist with this practice, when you continue feeling abundant, regardless of current circumstances, you create an irresistible magnetic pull that draws wealth into your experience. Write in the comments, "I feel it now," if you're ready to master this powerful practice of embodying your desires before they manifest physically, because what we're about to explore will show you how to maintain these elevated states even when reality seems to contradict them. Now, as you practice this art of feeling abundance before seeing it, you encounter one of the most crucial distinctions in all of consciousness work. Your subconscious mind, that powerful creative force that's constantly shaping your reality, doesn't respond to logical arguments, rational explanations, or intellectual reasoning. It responds exclusively to emotional impressions, to the feelings that consistently flow through your consciousness. This is why so many people struggle with traditional manifestation techniques. They repeat positive affirmations about wealth while feeling anxious about money. They visualize success while emotionally identified with failure. They think thoughts of abundance while their hearts are clenched with fear of scarcity. The subconscious mind doesn't hear the words, it feels the emotions, and it responds by creating experiences that match the emotional reality, not the verbal declarations. This revelation explains why some people can affirm prosperity for years without seeing results, while others manifest wealth seemingly effortlessly. The successful ones have learned to align their emotional states with their desired outcomes. They've discovered that feeling grateful for money that hasn't arrived yet is more powerful than thinking positively about money while feeling worried about bills. Behind the scenes of your daily experience, your subconscious mind is constantly scanning your emotional landscape, looking for instructions about what kind of reality to create. When you consistently feel abundant, regardless of your bank account balance, you're giving clear instructions to manifest abundance. When you consistently feel limited, despite your conscious desires for wealth, you're programming limitation into your future experiences. This understanding transforms how you approach every aspect of wealth creation. Instead of trying to convince your mind that you're wealthy, you learn to genuinely feel wealthy. Instead of forcing positive thoughts while harboring negative emotions, you work on shifting the underlying emotional patterns that create your experiences. The journey toward emotional mastery reveals something even deeper about the nature of money itself. Most people have the entire relationship backwards. They believe money is the cause of happiness, security, peace, and fulfillment. They think that once they have enough money, then they'll feel abundant, confident, and free. But this approach keeps them trapped in a perpetual cycle of seeking something external to create an internal state. The breakthrough comes when you realize that money is effect, not cause. Money is the result of consciousness, not the source of well-being. The real cause of wealth exists in your invisible mental and emotional states, while money is simply the visible effect of those internal conditions. You don't feel secure because you have money. You attract money because you feel secure. This reversal of causation is perhaps the most important understanding you can develop about prosperity. When you look at wealthy people who seem to attract money effortlessly, you're not seeing people who are happy because they're rich. You're seeing people who are rich because they've mastered the internal states that naturally magnetize abundance. They feel abundant before they see abundance. They embody confidence before they achieve success. They experience security before they accumulate wealth. Their external reality is simply reflecting their internal reality, not the other way around. This understanding liberates you from waiting for external circumstances to change before you allow yourself to feel differently. You no longer need to see money in your account before feeling wealthy. You no longer need to achieve success before feeling confident. You no longer need external validation before recognizing your inherent worth. The transformation happens when you start cultivating the internal states that create external wealth, rather than seeking external wealth to create internal states. You develop genuine feelings of abundance, security, and prosperity as practices, as choices, as ways of being that you embody regardless of current circumstances. This isn't about pretending or denying reality. It's about understanding that your current reality is always reflecting past internal states, while your current internal states are always creating future realities. You have the power to break free from this cycle by consciously choosing to feel abundant now, which programs abundance into your future experiences. Write in the comments, I create from within if you're ready to reverse this causation and start generating wealth from the inside out. Because what we're exploring next will reveal the quantum field where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Now, understanding that you create wealth from within leads us to explore the actual physical mechanism through which this internal transformation occurs. Deep within your brain, nestled between your eyebrows in the geometric center of your head, lies a tiny but extraordinarily powerful gland that most people never think about, yet which serves as the biological bridge between your physical existence and your unlimited potential. This pineal gland, no larger than a grain of rice, has been called the seat of the soul by philosophers and mystics throughout history. But beyond its spiritual significance, this small structure serves as a very real, very physical gateway to abundance consciousness. It's the biological portal through which your expanded awareness of prosperity can flow into your everyday reality. When you learn to consciously activate this gland through focused attention and specific practices, something remarkable begins to happen. Your perception starts shifting from the limited, three-dimensional view of scarcity to an expanded awareness that recognizes the infinite abundance available to you at every moment. You begin to literally see opportunities, possibilities, and resources that were invisible before. The activation process is surprisingly simple, yet profoundly powerful. By directing your attention to the space between your eyebrows, breathing deeply, and maintaining focused awareness on this area, you begin to stimulate increased activity in the pineal gland. This isn't just meditation or relaxation, this is conscious activation of your biological abundance portal. As you develop this practice, you start experiencing moments of expanded consciousness where limitations dissolve and possibilities multiply. You might suddenly have insights about new income streams, feel inspired to take actions that lead to opportunities, or find yourself naturally attracting the people and circumstances that support your financial growth. But this individual consciousness expansion connects you to something even more vast and profound. Beyond your personal mind, beyond your individual awareness, beyond even your activated pineal gland, exists what quantum physicists call the field of infinite possibilities. This isn't just theoretical physics. This is the fundamental reality in which you live, breathe, and create your experiences. This quantum field contains every possible version of your life simultaneously. The version where you're struggling financially exists there. The version where you're moderately comfortable exists there. The version where you're abundantly wealthy exists there. The version where money flows to you effortlessly, where opportunities appear regularly, where prosperity is your natural state. That reality exists in this field right now, complete and perfect, waiting for you to align with it. The journey toward accessing this field begins with recognizing that you're not a separate being, trying to get something from a hostile universe. You're actually a localized expression of the universe itself, with direct access to all the possibilities it contains. Your consciousness isn't trapped inside your skull. It's connected to the infinite web of potential that underlies all reality. When you understand this connection, manifestation becomes less about trying to create something new and more about selecting which already existing possibility you want to experience. The abundant version of your life isn't something you need to build from scratch. It's something you need to tune into, like finding the right frequency on a radio. This tuning process happens through the combination of activated consciousness and aligned feeling states. When you stimulate your pineal gland while simultaneously feeling genuinely abundant, grateful, and prosperous. You create a coherent signal that resonates with the wealthy version of yourself that already exists in the quantum field. The more consistently you practice this alignment, the more your physical reality begins to shift toward matching that abundant possibility. Synchronicities increase, opportunities multiply, People and circumstances arrange themselves to support your prosperity. What seems like luck or coincidence is actually the natural result of you becoming coherent with the abundant reality that was always available. This isn't about forcing or manipulating reality. It's about harmonizing with the deeper patterns of how reality actually works. When your consciousness expands beyond limitation and connects with the field of infinite possibility, abundance becomes as natural as breathing. Write in the comments, "I access infinite possibilities," if you're ready to explore this quantum approach to wealth creation, because what we're about to discover will show you how your subconscious mind functions as the ultimate manifestation technology. Now, as you learn to access these infinite possibilities through your expanded consciousness, you begin to understand how your subconscious mind operates as the ultimate manifestation technology. Think of your subconscious as the universe's most sophisticated banking system, a cosmic financial institution where every thought you think and every emotion you feel becomes a deposit that determines your future withdrawals. This isn't just metaphorical language. This is how the mechanism of creation actually works. Every single day, through your mental and emotional states, you're making deposits into this universal bank account. When you think thoughts of scarcity, you're depositing limitation. When you feel anxious about money, you're depositing worry. When you believe you're not good enough for wealth, you're depositing unworthiness. And your subconscious mind, operating with perfect precision, stores each of these deposits and prepares to pay them out as corresponding experiences. But here's the remarkable part about this cosmic banking system. It operates with mathematical accuracy and perfect timing. You never withdraw more than you've deposited, and you never fail to receive exactly what you've consistently put in. If you've been depositing thoughts of struggle for years, you'll receive experiences of struggle. If you've been depositing feelings of inadequacy around money, you'll receive circumstances that confirm your inadequacy. The transformation happens when you realize that you can change what you're depositing starting right now. Every moment presents you with the opportunity to make a new deposit. Every thought about your financial future, every emotion you feel about money, every belief you hold about your worthiness for abundance, these are all deposits going into your cosmic account. This understanding revolutionizes how you approach wealth creation because you stop looking for external sources of money and start managing your internal deposits. You become conscious of what you're putting into the universal bank, knowing that whatever you consistently deposit will eventually be paid out with interest. But among all the possible deposits you can make, there's one that stands above all others in its power to attract abundance. Gratitude operates as the most irresistible magnet for money that exists in the universe. But we're not talking about casual thankfulness or polite appreciation. We're talking about deep, authentic gratitude that transforms your entire energetic frequency. Most people think gratitude means being thankful for what they already have, and while that's valuable, it's only half of the equation. The real power of gratitude as a wealth magnet comes when you learn to feel genuinely grateful for what's coming to you, for the abundance that's already on its way, for the prosperity that exists in potential waiting to manifest in your experience. This future-focused gratitude creates an energetic pull that money simply cannot resist. When you can genuinely feel thankful for the wealth you don't yet see, when you can authentically appreciate the financial freedom you haven't yet achieved, when you can truly celebrate the abundance that's still making its way to you, you're creating a magnetic field that draws those experiences into your reality with remarkable speed. The secret lies in understanding that gratitude isn't just an emotion, it's a creative force. When you feel grateful, you're essentially telling the universe, "More of this, please." You're sending a clear signal that you're ready to receive, that you value what's coming, that you're the kind of person who appreciates abundance when it arrives. This is why grateful people seem to attract more good things into their lives, while complainers and victims seem to magnetize more problems. It's not coincidence or luck. It's the law of gratitude in action. Your emotional state becomes your request to the universe, and the universe responds by delivering experiences that match your predominant feelings. When you approach money from genuine appreciation rather than desperate need, everything changes. Money begins to feel comfortable around you because you treat it with respect and honor. Opportunities start appearing because you're vibrating at the frequency of someone who recognizes and appreciates value. People want to do business with you because gratitude is one of the most attractive and trustworthy energies that exists. Write in the comments, "I'm grateful for what's coming," if you're ready to harness the magnetic power of appreciation, because what we're about to explore will reveal the exact science behind how prayer and visualization become the technology of manifestation. Now, as you develop this powerful, a practice of future-focused gratitude, you encounter one of the most fundamental laws governing all of reality. The principle of mentalism reveals that everything you think manifests in some form. This isn't poetic metaphor or inspirational speaking. This is actual law, as reliable and predictable as gravity or thermodynamics. Your thoughts aren't just random mental chatter floating around in your head. They're actual things, invisible forces that shape and create your physical reality. Every thought you think sends ripples through the fabric of existence, creating patterns and possibilities that eventually crystallize into experiences, circumstances, and material manifestations. Most people go through their entire lives unknowingly creating through unconscious mental habits. They think the same worried thoughts about money day after day, year after year, and then wonder why their financial situation never improves. They replay the same limiting stories about their capabilities, their worth, their possibilities, and then feel confused when life keeps reflecting those limitations back to them. But once you understand that thoughts are things, that mental energy becomes physical energy, that invisible ideas become visible results, you realize you've been unconsciously using the most powerful creative force in the universe. The same mind that's been accidentally creating limitation can be consciously directed to create abundance. This realization transforms every moment of your day into an opportunity for conscious creation. When you catch yourself thinking scarcity thoughts, you recognize that you're literally building scarcity into your future. When you redirect your attention toward abundance thoughts, you're constructing prosperity in the invisible realm that will eventually manifest in the visible world. The journey toward conscious mental creation leads you to perhaps the most profound healing work you'll ever do, because once you understand that thoughts create reality, you begin to examine not just what you think about money, but how you relate to money as a living energy, as a conscious force that responds to how you treat it. Behind the scenes of your financial struggles, there's often a damaged relationship with money itself that needs healing. Most people treat money like an enemy. They curse it when bills arrive, resent it when they have to spend it, fear it when they don't have enough, and judge it when others have more. But money, being pure energy, has memory and character. It responds to how you treat it with corresponding behavior. Think about your internal dialogue around money. When you pay bills, do you grumble and complain? When you see wealthy people, do you judge or criticize? When money leaves your account, do you feel anger or resentment? Every one of these reactions is like insulting a friend and then wondering why they don't want to spend time with you. The healing process begins with recognizing that money isn't your enemy. Your relationship with money has been your enemy. Money itself is neutral energy that wants to flow, to circulate, to support life and growth and expansion. But when you treat it with hostility, fear, or disrespect, it responds by creating hostile, fearful, and disrespectful experiences around finances. This healing requires you to actually communicate with money as a conscious energy. This might sound unusual at first, but remember, if thoughts are things, if consciousness creates reality, then the energy of money is responsive to conscious communication. You can literally apologize to money for past mistreatment, thank it for its service in your life, and ask for its cooperation in creating more abundance. When you start blessing money as it arrives, appreciating it when it's present, and releasing it with gratitude when it flows to others, something remarkable happens. Money begins to feel safe around you. It starts to trust that you'll treat it well, value its presence, and use it wisely. And when money feels comfortable in your energy field, it naturally wants to stay longer and bring friends. This relationship healing extends beyond just your personal interactions with money. You begin to recognize money everywhere around you, in the prosperity of nature, in the abundance of resources, in the generosity of people, in the flow of commerce and trade. You start seeing money not as a limited resource that you have to fight for, but as an expression of the infinite creativity and abundance of the universe itself. Write in the comments, "Money is my ally," if you're ready to transform this fundamental relationship and create a partnership with abundance rather than a battle against scarcity, because what we're exploring next will reveal how your entire identity must shift to sustain lasting wealth. Now, as you develop this partnership with money and heal your relationship with abundance, you discover that there's a deeper adversary that's been sabotaging your wealth all along. This enemy isn't external circumstances, market conditions, or lack of opportunities. It's not your education, your background, or your connections. The real opponent you've been fighting is what ancient wisdom traditions called the devil of poverty. And this devil doesn't live in the world around you. It lives entirely within your unconfronted fears. This devil of poverty is cunning and strategic. It feeds on every doubt you harbor about your worthiness for wealth. It grows stronger with every fear you have about taking financial risks. It gains power from every limitation you accept as permanent truth about your circumstances. And it thrives in the darkness of unconscious beliefs, growing more powerful the less you're willing to examine and challenge your deepest fears about money, success, and your own capabilities. But here's the revelation that changes everything. This devil has no power except what you give it through your fear and avoidance. The moment you turn toward your fears about money instead of running from them, the moment you shine the light of consciousness on your deepest financial anxieties, the moment you stop feeding your limitations with your attention and energy, that's when this devil of poverty begins to starve and lose its grip on your life. Every fear you've been avoiding about wealth is actually a doorway to freedom. The fear of success that whispers, "What if I can't handle it?" The fear of judgment that says, "What will people think if I have money?" The fear of responsibility that argues, "More money means more problems." Each of these fears, when faced directly and transcended, becomes a source of power rather than limitation. The journey toward fear mastery requires you to stop running from financial anxiety and start investigating it. When you feel afraid about money, instead of distracting yourself or pushing the fear away, you ask, "What is this fear trying to teach me? What limiting belief is underneath this anxiety? What would I do if this fear didn't exist?" This process of fear mastery naturally leads you to perhaps the most profound transformation in how you experience life itself. Instead of constantly pursuing your desires from a place of lack, instead of always reaching towards some future fulfillment, you learn to inhabit your desires right now. You shift from living in the state of wanting to living in the state of already having. This isn't just positive thinking or pretending your circumstances are different than they are. This is a fundamental shift in identity and experience. When you live in the state of wish fulfilled, you're not hoping to become wealthy someday. You're embodying the consciousness of someone who already is wealthy. You're not working toward financial freedom. You're operating from the inner experience of someone who already has it. The magic happens when you realize that your external circumstances are always conforming to your internal states. When you consistently live in the feeling of your desires already being fulfilled, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match that inner experience. The universe doesn't distinguish between what you have and what you feel you have. It simply responds to your dominant emotional and mental state. This shift requires you to stop measuring your success by external conditions and start identifying with the person you're becoming internally. Instead of saying, "I'll feel wealthy when I have money," you say, "I feel wealthy now, and money is on its way to match this feeling." Instead of, "I'll be confident when I succeed," you say, "I'm confident now, and success is inevitable." Living in the state of wish fulfilled means waking up each morning not as someone who wants abundance, but as someone who embodies abundance. It means going through your day not as someone who's seeking opportunities, but as someone who naturally recognizes and attracts them. It means falling asleep not as someone who hopes things will change, but as someone who knows they already have, even if the external world hasn't caught up yet. This state becomes your new normal, your default way of being in the world. You stop waiting for evidence to feel successful and start feeling successful as a way of creating evidence. You stop needing external validation to feel worthy and start feeling worthy as your natural state of being. Write in the comments, "I already live it," if you're ready to make this profound shift from seeking to being, because what we're about to explore will show you how to maintain this elevated state even when the world seems to challenge your new reality. Now, living in this state of wish fulfilled naturally transforms how you communicate with the universe itself. Most people approach prayer as a desperate plea to some external force, begging for intervention, asking for things they believe they don't deserve, hoping some benevolent power will take pity on their circumstances and grant them relief. But this approach keeps you trapped in the consciousness of lack, reinforcing the very limitation you're trying to escape. True prayer isn't about begging or pleading, it's about conscious creation. When you understand that your consciousness is connected to the creative forces of the universe, prayer becomes a technology for impressing your desires into reality. Instead of asking for what you want from a place of need, you communicate with the universe from a place of gratitude for what's already yours in potential. This transformed approach to prayer combines the feeling of gratitude with vivid mental imagery of your desired outcomes. You don't pray, "Please give me money because I'm struggling." Instead, you pray, "Thank you for the abundance that's flowing into my life right now." You don't visualize yourself wanting wealth. You create detailed mental experiences of yourself already living abundantly. When you pray this way, you're not trying to convince the universe to change its mind about your worthiness. You're aligning your consciousness with the reality where your desires are already fulfilled. You're tuning into the frequency where abundance is your natural state. You're accessing the version of yourself that already exists in the realm of infinite possibility. This brings us to perhaps the most profound understanding in all of manifestation work. Beyond your individual consciousness, beyond your personal mind, beyond even your expanded awareness, exists what quantum physics describes as the field of pure potential. This isn't just theoretical science. This is the fundamental reality in which you live and create every moment of your life. In this quantum field, all possibilities exist simultaneously. The version of you that's struggling financially exists there. The version that's moderately successful exists there. The version that's abundantly wealthy, living in complete financial freedom, creating prosperity effortlessly. That version exists there too, right now, complete and perfect, and waiting for you to align with it. This field of infinite possibility responds directly to consciousness and feeling. It doesn't care about your current bank account balance, your credit score, or your employment status. It responds to the frequency you're broadcasting through your dominant thoughts and emotions. When you consistently embody the consciousness of abundance, the field begins materializing. Experiences that match that frequency. Understanding this quantum reality transforms everything about how you approach wealth creation. You're not trying to create something new from nothing. You're not fighting against scarcity to build abundance. You're simply selecting which already existing possibility you want to experience from the infinite menu of realities available to you. The process becomes less about effort and more about alignment, less about forcing and more about allowing, less about pushing against what you don't want and more about harmonizing with what you do want. When you understand that your abundant life already exists in potential, waiting for you to become a vibrational match to it, the entire journey becomes more graceful and natural. This alignment happens through the consistent practice of embodying the feelings, thoughts, and behaviors of the version of yourself that already has what you desire. Every time you choose gratitude over complaint, abundance over scarcity, confidence over doubt, you're tuning into the frequency of that successful version of yourself. The more consistently you maintain this alignment, the more your physical reality begins to shift toward matching that abundant possibility. Synchronicities increase, opportunities multiply, people and resources appear to support your success. What seems like coincidence is actually the natural result of you becoming coherent with the abundant reality that was always available. Write in the comments, "I align with abundance," if you're ready to consciously select prosperity from the infinite field of possibilities, because what we're about to explore will reveal the final piece of this transformation puzzle. Now, as you practice aligning with abundance from this infinite field of possibility, you begin to encounter resistance that runs deeper than your personal beliefs and experiences. Behind the scenes of your individual consciousness, there are inherited patterns about money that have been passed down through your family lineage for generations. These ancestral programs about scarcity, struggle, and limitation are quietly running in the background of your mind, sabotaging your efforts to create prosperity. Think about the money conversations you heard growing up, the phrases your grandparents repeated during the Depression era, the beliefs your parents inherited about having to work hard for every penny, the cultural programming about money being scarce, difficult to obtain, or somehow spiritually dangerous. These weren't just casual opinions. They were deeply embedded survival programs that got passed down through your family line like DNA. Your great-grandmother, who lived through economic hardship, didn't just experience scarcity. She programmed scarcity consciousness so deeply into her psyche that it became part of the family's energetic inheritance. Your grandfather, who struggled to provide for his family, didn't just work hard. He embedded the belief that money requires suffering and sacrifice into the family consciousness. These patterns became so normalized, so accepted as truth, that they've been unconsciously governing your financial life without your awareness. Breaking these generational money patterns requires you to recognize that you're not just healing your own relationship with abundance, you're healing patterns that may have been limiting your family for decades or even centuries. This healing work goes beyond personal transformation. It becomes ancestral healing that can free not only you, but future generations from these inherited limitations. The process begins with consciously identifying which beliefs about money you inherited versus which ones you actually want to live by. When you catch yourself thinking, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "We can't afford that," or "Rich people are greedy," you pause and ask, "Is this my truth? Or is this an inherited program?" Most of the time, you'll discover these limiting beliefs aren't even yours. They're hand-me-down thoughts from people who lived in different times, faced different challenges, and operated from different possibilities. Consciously choosing new beliefs about prosperity while releasing ancestral programming requires both intention and persistence. You must actively decide to think differently about money than your family has traditionally thought. You must choose to feel differently about wealth than previous generations felt. You must Be willing to become the first person in your family line to truly embody abundance consciousness. This choice transforms your subconscious mind into something like a sophisticated bank account system. Every day, through your thoughts and feelings, you're making deposits into this inner account. When you choose thoughts of abundance over inherited thoughts of scarcity, you're depositing prosperity into your consciousness bank. When you feel grateful for money instead of guilty about wanting it, you're making deposits of worthiness and receptivity. Your subconscious mind operates with the precision of the most advanced financial institution, tracking every deposit you make and preparing to pay out corresponding experiences. If you've been unconsciously depositing fear, worry, and limitation, thoughts like, "I can't afford this," "money is always tight," "I'm not good with finances," then your subconscious has been faithfully preparing to deliver experiences that match those deposits. But the moment you start consciously managing your mental and emotional deposits, everything begins to change. When you deposit thoughts like, "Money flows to me easily," "I am naturally abundant," "I deserve financial prosperity," your subconscious mind begins preparing to manifest experiences that align with these new deposits. The beautiful thing about this consciousness banking system is that it doesn't discriminate between old deposits and new ones. It simply processes whatever you consistently put in. This means you can start changing your financial future immediately by changing what you deposit today. You don't have to wait for external circumstances to change before your internal account can start accumulating different kinds of wealth. Write in the comments, "I break the patterns," if you're ready to become the ancestor who transforms your family's relationship with money forever, because what we're exploring next will show you exactly how to maintain these new deposits even when old patterns try to reassert themselves. Now, as you become conscious of managing these deposits in your mental bank account and breaking free from inherited limitations, you discover that the most powerful deposits you can make aren't just thoughts or even emotions alone. They're complete sensory experiences that convince your subconscious mind of their absolute reality. Most people think visualization means creating pretty pictures in their mind, like watching a movie of their desired life. But this surface-level approach rarely creates lasting change because the subconscious mind doesn't respond to mental images. It responds to conviction, to the feeling of reality, to sensory experiences that feel so real they could be happening right now. True visualization with emotional conviction involves engaging every sense, every emotion, every aspect of your being in the creation of your desired reality. When you visualize having money, you don't just see it. You feel the weight of the bills in your hands, hear the subtle sound they make as you count them, smell the particular scent of new currency, experience the emotional satisfaction of abundance flowing through your chest. This isn't pretending or make-believe. This is conscious reality creation at its most sophisticated level. Your subconscious mind processes these complete sensory experiences as actual memories, as real events that have already occurred. And once your subconscious accepts these experiences as real, it begins working to make your external reality match these internal experiences. The key lies in the emotional conviction you bring to these visualizations. Anyone can imagine having money, but few people can genuinely feel wealthy while they're imagining it. Anyone can visualize success, but rare individuals can embody the calm confidence and deep satisfaction of someone who has already achieved their goals. This emotional authenticity is what transforms visualization from wishful thinking into reality creation technology. When you can close your eyes and feel so genuinely grateful for the abundance you're visualizing that tears come to your eyes. When you can experience such authentic relief about financial security that your entire body relaxes. When you can embody such real confidence about your prosperity that you physically carry yourself differently. That's when you're speaking the language your subconscious understands. This mastery of visualization with Emotional conviction leads you to the ultimate realization about wealth creation and abundance manifestation. Living in the state of your desires being fulfilled isn't a destination you reach after years of practice. It's a decision you can make right now, in this moment, regardless of your current circumstances. Your new reality isn't waiting for you somewhere in the future, dependent on external conditions aligning perfectly. Your new reality is available to you immediately the moment you choose to embody the consciousness of someone who already has what you desire. The universe doesn't distinguish between what you physically possess and what you authentically feel you possess. It responds to your dominant inner state with corresponding outer experiences. This understanding liberates you from the exhausting pursuit of external validation for your worth and value. You no longer need to see money in your account before feeling wealthy. You no longer need achievements in the world before feeling successful. You no longer need other people's approval before recognizing your inherent abundance. The transformation becomes a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice to inhabit the consciousness of your fulfilled desires rather than the consciousness of your current limitations. Each morning you wake up, you decide whether to identify as someone who's struggling toward abundance or someone who's already abundant. Each challenge you face, you choose whether to respond from scarcity or from overflow. When you consistently choose to feel abundant regardless of circumstances, when you persistently embody prosperity despite temporary appearances, when you continuously operate from the consciousness of having rather than wanting, the universe has no choice but to deliver abundance that matches your inner state. This isn't positive thinking or denial of reality. This is understanding that your inner reality creates your outer reality, and you have complete control over your inner experience. You become the conscious creator of your own abundance, no longer waiting for external permission to feel prosperous, no longer dependent on circumstances to feel secure. Write in the comments, "I choose abundance now," if you're ready to make this decision daily and embody the consciousness of your fulfilled desires starting today. Because what we're about to explore will reveal the exact daily practices that maintain this elevated state. Now, if you've stayed with me through this entire journey of transformation, if you've felt the shifts happening in your consciousness as we've explored these profound truths together, then you understand something that most people never grasp. That real change begins the moment you decide to see yourself and your relationship with abundance differently. The fact that you're still here, that you've absorbed these insights about consciousness, quantum fields, ancestral patterns, and the true nature of wealth creation, tells me something important about you. You're not just a casual observer of your life. You're someone who's ready to take full responsibility for creating the reality you truly desire. If this resonates with you at a deep level, if something inside you is saying, "Yes, this is how I want to live," then I'd love for you to become part of this community of conscious creators. Hit that subscribe button because this conversation we've been having, it's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore about manifestation, consciousness, and creating the life that's been calling to you. And if you've made it all the way to this point, if these concepts have clicked into place for you, leave a comment below saying, "This message was meant for me." I read every single comment, and there's something powerful about declaring your readiness for transformation in writing. It's like making a commitment to yourself and to the universe that you're serious about this work. If you found value in this exploration, if something shifted for you during our time together, a simple like on this video helps more people discover these ideas. There are so many people out there still struggling with money, still trapped in scarcity consciousness, still believing that abundance isn't meant for them. Your like helps this message reach someone who might desperately need to hear it today. And because this journey of conscious wealth creation has so many layers, so many practical applications, there's a video right here that takes these concepts even deeper into the daily practices that maintain this elevated consciousness. Click and continue with me over there. Let's keep exploring how to make this transformation a living reality in your everyday life.